tax decisions in Kenya, we must be cognizant of the philosophy of the neighbors and all of us collectively. And raw materials, if they are not produced in Kenya within EAC, you do not put levies, fees, and taxes. Why? Because you want to encourage local production. Capital goods, the machinery, the plants that are imported to be able to add value locally, even the livestock for production, pure breeds, you do not tax them because you want to encourage local production. Intermediate goods that are not available in enough quantities, that is what oscillates between 10% and 25%. And the goods that are ready for consumption, without exception, 35%. And this is a philosophy of taxation that when we make a decision, we have to have this in back of our mind. Anything else that you introduce will either make us competitive or will kill us. If you look at the Finance Act, and you've had an opportunity to look at this, we look at this from the perspective of, did the Finance Act leave us more competitive as Kenya? Did the Finance Act 2023 create more jobs or jobs were lost? Did it create additional revenue to KRA? How did it impact Wanjiko or Mwananchi? Those are the parameters that we're looking at. And if you look at that, and this is just an explanation of paper, you compare Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania, and other countries, you'll see that effective tax in Kenya was at 39% for that grade of paper. What did that mean to Wanjiko? That by the strike of a pen, that tax, what we call export levy, increased the unga bag, 2 kg unga by 6 shillings. That was the impact to Wanjiko. Look at what it did to export of cotton. January to March this year, our exports collapsed. Why? Because of the policy that was made in the Finance Act 2023. Last year we were here and we said, members, don't do what you're about to do because this will collapse. It has happened. If you look at the export market, Tanzania was the biggest export market. It collapsed. Now we are importing from Tanzania. That was the impact. If you look at the tea sacks, we were importing, you can look at that graph and you see the imports the way they were low, all the way to January, this year and March. We have imported tea packing papers, 97% more than we imported in 2023. We have become, and the members who have made those papers are here. You will hear from them. We were not importing. Now we're importing 93 months, 97% of the annual import. This is coming from Sri Lanka. We are competing with Sri Lanka in the tea world market. But now we're importing even packaging paper from them. This, one of the companies, and Kimani is here, and he will tell you, and he told you 3 weeks ago, that he shut down his factory that started in 1948. Why? Because of that policy, Finance Act 2023. There were 60 sack manufacturers in Kenya. 3 of them have gone down. East African Packaging was the latest to go down a month ago. We have 3 remaining. With this bill, the way it is crafted, these 3 will be wiped out. So we'll become a net importer. So let's go to, and I use paper, not because other sectors have not been impacted. We wanted to use paper just to demonstrate how consequential this meeting that we're having today is not only for us, but for the country. This is a time for reflection. This is a time to correct course. Because this trajectory, if we continue with it, we're going to collapse all the industry in this country. Look at the proposals we were talking about, and even just backtrack. We just looked at the impact of export, investment, and promotion levy, which was not even promoting exports. It was taxing the imports of raw materials. Now, that was a very clever way to introduce a tax in 2023. A new clever way has come up in 2024. It's called eco-levy. It's a new invention. Look at that newspaper page. That NEMA expects to raise 50 billion. And this is very sad because there is already a framework that you're working on with NEMA. So that will be the... Now, what is the proposal? 150 shillings on those products that are there. The escalation will be on plastic sector, 55% increase, pharmaceutical 38%, bread 2%, cooking oil 6%, just on this eco-levy alone. Diapers 30%. Look at the batteries. An associated battery is here. Battery that was costing 8,500, the eco-levy pushes it to 19,000. Diapers for our children. We had just come out from importing diapers that were burning children because they have been made from waste in other countries. We are now producing quality diapers here. We are about to kill that industry. Tires. And this is close to your heart. We'll come to that. So if you look at the impact, and you look at the first column is on items, current prices, projected increase, and the percentage increase. Bread, just because of eco-levy, we have not put VAT. We have not put cooking oil because also it's proposed to go up. There is a snowball effect item increase, 13.8%. Look at 1 kg powder of detergent, 15%. And there is a fallacy that is advanced sometimes in the policy-making process, that the policymakers think that they are actually taxing these companies or these products. But what they don't realize is that Wanjiku will pay every cent of what the government has lumped as tax. What we worry about is depressing demand. But Wanjiku will have to bear the cost. And Wanjiku is why you present them in Parliament, and therefore our appeal. Look at the impact on the motor vehicle batteries. 105% increase. So the levy is more expensive than the battery. The solar. Motorcycle batteries, 27%. These are the hustlers. Diapers. Diapers in 2014, we used to import 100% of all the diapers and sanitary wear in this country. An investor invested in 2014. The second one came in 2018. 3 more invested in 2019. 1 more in 2020. We are now an exporter of diapers. By the strike of the pen, eco-levy put us back to 2014. Because we can import from China, we can import from Egypt, which will be cheaper than locally manufactured. So, again, we have killed, and there are about 3,000 people employed in this sector. By strike of a pen, you kill that, you wipe it out. That is a percentage increase. On one piece, 28%. On a pack, 30%. So our mothers and our women go back to using imported products that are substandard. And we have the capacity here. Why? Because NEMA wants to raise money and they're not going even to go and collect the garbage because you are paying for that garbage. I'm sure members of parliament, you will resonate with this picture. That's a wheelbarrow. And the wheel for this wheelbarrow goes up by 1,000 shillings. So surely even this one. But we know this proposal is not from the parliament.
And of course, you couldn't use a mkokoteni, it had to be a wheelbarrow.
It is real chair. It's the real thing. But of course, we have also the wheelchair wheels. But these ones we do it locally. So, and this, to make it worse, is that these wheelbarrow wheels and all these wheels are made from recycled materials. So these people are cleaning up the environment. But you want to tax them, and you're not going to, or let me say not you, the NEMA want to tax them, and they're not going to go out and collect and invest in machinery to do this. So we believe this is misinformed, it's uncalled for, it's unwarranted. Look at that chair. What we're talking about in terms of plastic and all these taxes and the ban of plastic bags is only to deal with 20% of 67% is organic waste we're unable to deal with. But all the effort that you've had from 2017 is only about this 20%. Now, the history that you see there is that when the government came and said, we are going to ban single-use plastics, we said, hang on, let's look for a solution. We went and looked for the best solution. ASCAM and our members and government worked together to come up with what is called EPR, Extended Producer Responsibility. We are the only ones in Africa that are doing this. We have evolved that now we have formed, and CAM has incubated these PROs, Producer Responsibility Organizations. We pay for collection of waste. 750 companies are in this program. We have mopped out 40,000 metric tons of plastic PET bottles. We have actually created a parallel business. Now we say takataka ni mali. By NEMA getting to eco-levy and charging that, you wipe out all these efforts because you can't pay for waste and we are paying NEMA to do the same. Must look at and tame the appetite for these sagas that want to raise money continuously without offering any service, without cleaning the environment. You can see the problem we have been in. Nairobi River is clogged. There's nothing that they've done, but you've been there. Myself, I was Area 4, Madare Area 4, unclogging the bridge way before it rained. Here we go to excise duty. And excise duty used to be a consumption tax. But it has been extended to all the other products. The challenge is that now the proposal is to remove the provision for offsetting, like VAT. While the person who has crafted this, the government, imagine that this is going to go to the manufacturers, is actually for this, because it will be loaded on the price of the products, but it will make the life unbearable for the mwananchi. Look at that chair. Cement. Last year, we introduced the clever export invest and levy. You can see what has happened to the construction industry. Now, this year, another clever way of introducing excise duty on coal. They depend on coal. Coal is a globally traded commodity, and Mohit from BAT, from Bamburi, is here, will explain to you. Look at the first column, or the third column. That is the price, global price of clinker, 19,000. That is, Mohiti will tell us. But it's actually, the levy now is more expensive than the price of the commodity. That's like what you've seen previously. This is going to wipe out all these 7 companies. We'll start importing cement from Uganda, Tanzania. We're already doing that anyway in the Western Kenya, and that's happening already. That is the analysis of the description or the comparison between Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania on coal. We jump to 143%. Uganda is at 0%. Tanzania is at 1.5%. And this coal, a lot of it is coming from Tanzania. The same way we did with paper, we transferred all our business to Tanzania. Now we're transferring again all the money to Tanzania. We kill our industries. If you try to think the reason why this has come, I invite you to dig deeper and ask the crafters of this what really drove them to come up with this. Because you kill cement and steel industry to get peanuts from coal. How much coal do we import in this country? So it is driven by another motive. Look at the cost of cement. This is where we were 2022. And these are ex-factory prices. Anybody who comes from Kisii, Kisumu, and other places in Western Kenya, without even going to Western Kenya, the price of cement is 1,000 plus. In Kitengela, 850 shillings. It used to be 500 shillings. This is the impact of these conversations that we're having today. We were here last year, we said it's going to go up. Cooking oil. Even without looking at all the numbers, there are 4 taxes to build 2024. I'm sure Saeed from the sector will explain more. But 25% excise on CPO crude palm oil, 25% excise on finished product, you cannot offset. Because someone clever said you cannot offset. So when Chico can pay, 10% on plastic and eco levy. 1 jerrycan of 1 20-liter jerrycan is 1 kilo. So that's 150 shillings. But if you look at the bottom line, the final ex-factory price, you will see that the price of a 20-liter jerrycan moves from 3,600 to 5,700, 5,775. From 3,000. We wanted to do that so that it is visual. And that's how the price will jump. The Mwananchi is already very squeezed. And then this goes up by this percentage, this delta. What will make these companies who are here, they have invested 100 billion shillings, 13 companies. What will make us not import from Egypt and from Commerce? It's going to be cheaper to bring it from Egypt or from Malaysia. Why do we make these kind of decisions? Who thinks like this? Look at the comparison. Sorry, Chair. So look at where we were. 2022, 2023, now after the finance bill. Look at Tanzania, look at Uganda. We're going again the same way we did with other products that we have talked about, that we're exporting to the EAC, steel, cement, paper. We are now importing. Again, we are throwing the whole sector. The whole sector. And even if you wanted to do local production, you create a transitional, model. How we are going to phase out, if it's possible to phase out crude palm oil. But you don't do it this way. This is how not to do it. Alcoholic industry. Again, we change the formula. And they're very clever guys, because, you look from volume now, it is centiliter of pure. But look at the delta. And someone can say, okay, well, illicit. This is going to create a massive unintended consequences, because even the people who could afford, you are now pushing them to illicit alcohol. Because people will drink. Even if this goes by 1,000%, people will drink. But what are they going to be drinking? Zach is here. Zach will provide more insights. Look at the delta. Uganda will be cheaper, 55, 77%. What will stop us from walking across the border and buying? It's already happening in Busia. People drink across the border and coming. So our recommendation, Chair, without belittling the point, is that the introduction of levies, fees, taxes, excise, upstream will production engines for this country. If the production engines are not running at optimal speed, this country will not create jobs. This country will not create revenue. All these methods of creating of collecting taxes will come to naught, will matter to naught. Unless businesses make money, there is no way government will make money. Even if you put tax at 100%, it's not going to happen. Our appeal is, please allow us to manufacture. Please allow us to produce. Let us not throw away what has been built painstakingly over decades because of very have been made without a 360 view of the economy, without being aware of what you're doing. So, the cost of doing business will go up by 30%. Will not be able to export. We have demonstrated to you that our export on those products that were levied last year have collapsed completely. Retail prices to Njiko will go up. Demand will go down. Tax avoidance will be at the highest level. And I know Mr. Ore is here. KRA is already missing 30 billion shillings a month. We told KRA, go and look at sectors A, B, C, D. That is where the gap is. And they have lost the money, and we told them. But we also understand that some of this proposed KRA is a recipient of policy that comes from government, then through the committee, then through parliament. KRA is just implementing. So, Chair, I want to rest my case, but I also wanted to invite a few members to of high-level overview of their sectors, and I'll start with the paper sector, followed very briefly by Flower Council, just to tell us the impact of what has happened to your industry. Thank you. Chair.
Okay, thank you very much.
Do you have more PowerPoints, or that's it?
No, from here it's
So, CEO, we are done with the PowerPoints, right?
So we'll allow you to regain your seats as we set up our presentations. Okay, so we'll be brief. We've got 2 minutes. Thank you very much. And I'm leaving this, I don't know if you call it Exhibit A. Yeah, I'll leave it with you. You can keep Dune, EAPI. Yeah, we are Dune, EAPI, and we have paper bags here somewhere, yeah, that are operating. But just to correct, on paper sacks for down, the oldest factory to do this, and that's exactly what happened. In Mombasa, March of this year, we shut down East Africa Packaging Industries, tea sector.
So
it has
Kimani,
been
Kimani, let me help you. Here.
Yeah.
Let me help you.
Yeah.
The finance bill of 2023 had 87 proposals.
Yeah.
One of them was, let me just give you an example, the amnesty. It looks like the whole bill is what made you do this. So it will
right.
in now the Finance Act, we
Correct.
call it the Finance Act, that now led to this. So that becomes easier. Finance Act.
No, it wasn't, but in our case, and thank you very much, thank you for levy to 10% and raising the 35% that killed our factory, which we had just recovered. And on top of that, I might add, allowing Sri Lankan tea sacks into the market duty-free was the third and final straw that broke at least the camel's back in the case of EAPI. Yeah? So that is with tea sacks.
I know we had this conversation earlier, but how exactly, what exact provision allowed Sri Lanka tea sacks into the market duty-free? It's important we understand which law provision made that decision.
So there are two loopholes which the Sri Lankans are using. One is allowed to import under bond. For us, as manufacturers in Kenya, we cannot sell in products. We can sell to KTDA duty-free because they are registered under DRS, so indirect exports are allowed. But if the company is not registered under DRS, we cannot sell to them duty-free, whereas they can import tea sacks into their bonded facilities in Mombasa. Bulk of the tea blenders in Mombasa are now under bond. So for them, I mean, our bag is 45% more expensive with the taxes. The import from Sri Lanka duty-free. To do that, there's a second provision, I think it's Schedule 5 of our Finance Act, which allows packaging material to be imported duty-free if the final product is allowed to be exported out of Kenya. Raw materials to supply to the same companies who are exporting out of Kenya. But they can import directly from Sri Lanka and enjoy it. If you look at the chart when Anthony showed, from January, initially it was like 30,000 tea sacks a month were being imported in Kenya.
So you've had the issue of bondage and how Sri Lankan companies are using the bondage into importing the papers into the Kenyan market duty-free, and then now competing with our local manufacturers in the absence of them paying the local tax. So what do we need to do to remedy that?
Yes, Chair, thank you. The provision that are using is under ECMA. That is the fifth schedule of the, and that is a regional law that needs to be amended subject to the agreement to the other partner states.
But Sri Lanka is not in EAC.
No, okay. The EAC sets out the exemptions not just for the imports from EAC partner states. Actually, there are no duties on imports from EAC partner states, but there is what we call common external tariff that is used by all the partner states. We agree that this is a rate that will apply on all imports from non-EAC. Yes.
Waiting for ministers to review the EAC rates. It's happening this week, right?
It happened last week.
Did we apply for stay orders?
Unfortunately, Chair, this issue is coming at this stage, but members, or all members of the public, including CAM, were given that opportunity. I really don't know whether they made a submission.
Okay, did you make your submissions on ECMA? Because that's really where your biggest, one of your biggest.
We did. I'll take it straight from.
So who did, and were your recommendations made? Would you want us to make on that ECMA issue?
Chair, with your permission, yes, this was presented at the Kenyan delegation to SCIFI. This was discussed because it's basically two sides. Cure it. I don't think we need to rest behind or hide behind ECMA, sir. And I'll tell you why. First, importation under bond can be curtailed and controlled. That's a local law. Importation under bond is a local law, not governed by. ECMA works with tariff codes, does not work on administrative challenges that Kenyan manufacturers face.
Okay, then which this bondage law, because we struggled with this question, and I really want us to know what, so which this bondage law do we need to amend to prevent this abuse by Sri Lanka?
So what typically what happens, you're importing finished product for the purposes of repackaging and exporting. Chair, it's about definitions. Right? So if we can amend definitions, and if you look at the history of how MUB and how products under bond, a lot of products have been removed from bondage.
And yes, thank you very much. So that we make progress, can any of our legal drafters now tell us which law that is and what amendment?
Definitions. Right? So if we can amend definitions, and if you look at the history of how MUB and how products under bond, a lot of products have been removed from bondage.
And yes, thank you very much. So that we make progress, can any of our legal drafters now tell us which law that is and what amendment? In this conversation, we know exactly which law we are amending.
Maybe, Chair, maybe, Chair, because of what they have said, the specific law or the definition that you want to be done so that we can actually manage that loophole.
It falls under the operating regulations of bonded facilities, which is governed by KRA.
Okay.
There is no direct law for manufacturing in bond.
So it is regulations by KRA.
That's correct.
Let's make progress.
Yeah, I'm just wondering. It was very obvious from Maura Imani that if we finance bill, this company will close. The company Mombasa, East African
Packaging industry, and we have closed already.
Yeah, no, it was very obvious. I mean, you even said it.
Yeah.
But I'm just wondering, is it the only company in Kenya which was producing this kind of packaging?
So we started at 6, we were 3, now we are 2. 2 are left, bags and balers, and this balance sheet in that sector.
Yes.
And therefore, obviously, we took the biggest.
Yeah, apart from the taxes, is there any other issues, maybe inefficiencies, or the technology? Because the city is the oldest, so maybe they are still using.
No, and I again, at the pleasure of the chairman, because of time, it was purely because of the taxes implemented. We went to 10% on EPIL, which was a new tax. We went to 35% CET, plus we had the Sri Lankans, so obviously
Sri
the
Lanka.
weaker company was going to
Okay, let's make
drop.
progress.
Okay,
Proceed.
so that's TSATs.
And we as manufacturers, we export to Uganda. We were exporting to Uganda. One of the biggest mill, Mandela millers in Uganda, Azam in Burundi. Since last year, July, we have not received one LPO from them. They have started